Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Appreciate everybody being here. I have about 1:01, so we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. We can do that. And before we do the roll call of the members, I do need to say that for an introduction of video conferencing calls, this meeting is being held by video conference call. For all participants, please remember that while speaking, your face must be clearly visible and your voice audible. Board members, please remember to keep your video and audio during the meeting and identify yourself by name before speaking. And with that being said, Ms. Miranda, if you would like to.
Presiding Officer, Director Scott Donaldson.
Present.
Assistant Presiding Officer, Captain Oscar Hernandez.
Present.
Chief Alan Banks.
Here.
Officer Shannon Barker. Here. Sheriff Jack Curd.
Here.
Lana Gudgel.
Here.
Sergeant Jeff Lake.
Here.
Training Coordinator Jay McClellan.
Here.
Sergeant Renee Morales. Pat Rios.
Here.
Chief Deputy Salvador Rodriguez.
Present.
Assistant Chief Jay Tillerson.
Here.
Deputy Chief Marcus Wall.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next thing on the agenda would be welcoming remarks for myself, but I'll divert. Aaron, do you have anything that you'd like to say first before since you are our lead today?
Apparently, Colin says it's best. He had another commitment that he had to unfortunately make today. But I think we've made a lot of progress, and we sent out the rule yesterday to everybody to kind of review and have for today, that they incorporated the suggestions from the last meeting. So hopefully there's going to be near consensus around the rule, and not too many minor edits that need to happen. I think for the options, well, I'll get into that later when we actually get into that item.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I just again want to welcome everybody here and on Zoom, and I just appreciate everybody's time on this. I agree with Aaron. I think we're just about there. So I think we're got a good product that's going to, I think, make a big difference. So I appreciate everybody's help on doing that. Moving on to item number 2, we'll need an approval of the minutes from our February 10th meeting. I think those were also sent out to all of us for us to review prior to. Has everybody had a chance to read those? And does anybody have any comments or edits or discussion on any of the minutes?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See, I waited that time.
Yeah, good job. You're learning.
And any opposed? I think that motion carries. All right, moving along. Number 3, we're going to receive updates from our subcommittees, take action if necessary, training and continuing in education. We had another brief email conversation on the recommendations for the training course that we hope to recommend at the end of this. I think you guys have a copy of that also. Not a whole lot of changes compared to what we talked about. We did have some discussion on some of the things, and I think the majority of us are probably pretty familiar with those administrative codes, but covering those 5 are basically going to cover the majority of the things that we felt a training coordinator probably needs to know, along with the comprehensive evaluation preparation guide and the TCOL training file checklist and the background confirmation form. We think those were all good things to have in discussion with the subcommittee. We recommended every 2 years in the same cycle as legislative updates that the training coordinator would take this, so it would just fall in line with that same cycle. We also recommend, if possible, that the course be made available at that year's training conference. I do remember years ago, you used to be able to go to the new training conference or new training coordinator class the day before the conference. I've had a lot of people ask me, knowing that I'm on this committee, if that's something that could be considered again, because they would like to get it knocked out while at the conference. And then also we would like to recommend that the current version that is available be on demand for those that are appointed training coordinators during the cycle, or that for some reason could not attend the conference. And then we recommended, after a conversation, allowing them 30 days from being appointed or from that to get that complete. Any of the other subcommittee members that have worked on this have any input? Did I forget anything? Did I summarize it okay?
Yeah, that covered it all.
That covers it. Chief Tillerson, good?
Good.
Okay, good.
And to clarify, this is continuing education.
Yes,
Okay, so these are the topics for continuing education on here.
yes.
Just kind of looking at it, I think one additional thing might be just chapter 215, because that is the one that regulates, that discusses the training coordinators and the providers so that they have a better understanding of their requirements.
And you know, I think I just failed to put that on there, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But no, I agree 100%.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
I'm looking at the handout that,
yes.
Yes.
I think I failed to probably put that on there,
okay,
but 100% agreed that 215 needs to be on there also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I know this will be a recommendation for the next meeting, Aaron, when I meet with the commission, but would we need a motion from this board for that recommendation to move forward with this or
we can take that in the next section if you want.
okay,
It doesn't have to be in the subcommittee updates, but you can take it in the next section.
okay, all right, sounds good. And then the curriculum, I think I still get confused on what the curriculum is different than what this is with the continuing education. So,
Well, there's going to be two courses to be developed. There's going to be the basic training coordinator course, which will be the first course that they have to take within 6 months of becoming a training coordinator. Or
Right.
they can take it any time before becoming a training coordinator, but it required
okay,
kind of equivalent would be like the basic peace officer course.
Okay.
For a training coordinator. So that would be that initial course, and then everything else would be continuing education.
okay, so there's the initial, I'm the first time, I've never done this, I have to take this course within 6 months. And then in order to maintain my status, I do the continuing education, if approved, every 2 years within the cycle. Okay. That clears that up for me. I'm still a little confused on that, so. And you all will be developing that curriculum, or will you need a subcommittee for that also? Because I'm
We're-
trying to see how it would be different.
Mhm. I imagine that the curriculum will be, that the curriculum up here seems a lot like the curriculum for the basic
Right,
training coordinator course.
okay,
So I think it would incorporate all of this, and if there's other things that we see, we can always add those.
Okay.
And I imagine that continuing education will have some of this. Sometimes it'll be highlighting recent changes that have just happened. And so it might focus more on those areas instead of just kind of the generics across the board,
Okay.
like the basic training coordinator course would.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of having, that's what I was kind of on the same train of thought that you are, that you have the initial license, the initial course that kind of outlines everything. And then in the continuing education, you kind of address some of the changes that have happened since the last
That's right.
2-year course. I think
Okay.
that makes, that way it's an abbreviated continuing education course, probably
Mhm.
wouldn't need to be as long as the initial course. Initial course kind of lays out everything you would encounter. The updated one would just be, hey, these are the changes that were, and the problems or whatever you see that the staff feels like needs to be addressed. And that,
Exactly.
well, then I think what we actually did was the curriculum, I think I just titled it the
Yes.
wrong way.
yes.
So I think
the
this is
initial-
what we would say for the initial.
Right.
Okay.
And then obviously we don't know what the continuing education will be
Right.
because that's going to be based off of legislation and other
Yeah.
things that come. So I apologize, but yes, that
No, yeah.
clears that up. Sorry, my
So-
morning coffee hasn't kicked in yet
So when
either.
it comes time to a motion,
Which one off?
we need to clarify that in the motion, or is that just understood for this conversation?
We can clarify that in the motion.
Thank you for clearing that up.
That's the way I thought we were developing the curriculum, and then we were making recommendations on when continuing education needed to occur, which is what we delivered comments on below that.
Perfect.
I didn't realize we were.
Any other questions on that? Has everybody got that now? I'm clear now, I think, but
Mhm.
everybody's good at that? Okay. Any other topics on any training, continuing education or curriculum? Anything for discussion on that? Then I guess we'll move on to number 4. We'll discuss and take action on matters related to developing minimum standards for the training coordinators. And I know, Aaron, you said you sent this out, I think it was yesterday, the updated one.
Yes, that's right.
Did everybody get a chance to look over it?
Mhm.
Aaron, I'll turn it to you.
Sure. So we made the recommended changes from the last meeting. In A1, we have holds peace officer license or the respective license for the course to be taught. So we added that the peace officer license can teach any of the courses. Next, we had down in B9. Yes, we removed B9 as it currently is in this draft, says it's not prohibited by state or federal law from possessing firearms or ammunition. We had previously had for the for the training coordinator for the peace officer for BPOC. But we decided to remove that so that they had to be able to possess firearms or ammunition for any of the courses. I think it was specifically referenced about the jailer.
Right.
Next change here is going to be down near the end, the next few changes. And we're going to have to make a little bit of a change here. But it's the first change is in F. And so we wanted to have this continuing requirement that they meet minimum standards. And so the section F that we added is if a training coordinator appointed over a basic licensing course no longer meets the minimum standards set forth in this section, the training provider must terminate the appointment if directed by the commission. And it tracks kind of the language with the other sections around it, especially the one before it, which is more or less at the time of becoming training coordinator, they did not meet the standards. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about subsection F?
I think it's good.
Okay. And then the next one we added is I, and this is the continuing education requirement. I noticed that in this one over here, I was going off the notes from the last meeting and we had said annual. In your subcommittee report, you have biannual to correspond with how our training cycles and training units more specifically are set up right now.
And I don't want to have to change this, but the thought process on that was, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, I assumed that most of the changes are going to come during the legislation, that there aren't that many in between. Or am I wrong that there's just a bunch of changes that can happen annually, that it needs to be done that much? Or do you think a 2-year along with the legislation would capture most of any changes we would need?
I think it could be 2-year.
Okay.
Legislative changes aren't going to happen every year.
Right.
It will be every 2 years. There are intermediate changes, especially we see some sort of issue and we change a rule to address it or some sort of policy. But it can be biannual. We can definitely do that.
And some of the changes I see too are like, changes to forms or
Right.
updated things that might need to be pointed out. That's kind of on the TCOL side. But again, I think that's something that can be addressed in a 2-year. Those don't change that often. Or, hey, we're looking at doing this for the future or whatever. So I think, yeah. 2 years would suffice.
Okay. Just change annually. But I'll read it out how it should be. A training coordinator appointed over a basic licensing course must complete training coordinator specific continuing education biannually as prescribed by the commission.
Any comments on that? Concerns, questions? And I think that summarizes the changes that we talked about last time, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Did anybody have any other ones as you read through this yesterday? Is anything that we possibly missed at the last one or something we need to talk about?
Would that be on odd numbered years?
It will, we would link it up with our training units. So yes, it would be,
Legislatively, they're on odd years.
our units are set up where a unit starts September 1st of an odd year and ends August 31st, 2 years on this 2 years later. So let's say September 1st, 2025, it'll end August 31st, 2027. So it's set up on our government fiscal year.
So this shows an effective date currently of November 1, 2025. And I know that can be adjusted to the timelines and stuff like that. Does that impact that training timeline starting September 1 of 2025?
That's a good question.
Where did November come from? I don't remember that.
I can explain that. So this is a rule, and so we're going to have to follow the rulemaking process. And how that works is we would propose the rule at the commission meeting in June. And then we can set it up for notice and comment. Notice and comment period, when you post it to the Texas Register, you have essentially 2 weeks after you post it. After you submit it, it actually gets posted online. And then it has to be open for 30 days. Our next commission meeting wouldn't be till September 3rd, September 3rd or 4th.
So that would be the second hearing of it.
That would be where they can finally adopt it.
Okay.
Right.
After that, it's 20 days after you submit it to the Texas Register. So the earliest we could do this would be October 1st, 2025. We put November 1st, 2025, just because it gives us a buffer, because September 3rd or 4th, and then making sure there's a lot of prep work that goes into submitting rules. And we could have it done right after the commission meeting, but it's not a guarantee.
I just didn't know the rule not going into effect until after September 1, 2025, and that training cycle already starting, how that.
But the other thing that you're gonna have to worry about too is that the course hasn't been developed.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna have to have course development in there too. That's also going to go well into that cycle once
We're
it's
talking about
even
2 months in the cycle.
adopted. So,
Right.
well, but you're looking at actually longer than that by the time the course is developed and being able to be available. I mean, they're not gonna be able to, I would guess, not be able to develop the course and everything by the October conference.
And it's important to know the conference this year is at the end of September.
Oh, end of September.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have it adopted and developed by that time. And so it's gonna push it even, in other words, it's not gonna be available for the training conference in 2025.
So I guess what the question is it problematic for y'all to say, so I think what they're trying to say is that in an I, it's we're giving people a 2-year window, when in effect, we're gonna give them 2 months less. It's been my experience that there's been things that TCOL has said like effective September 1, but it's not ready September 1. And I don't mean that rudely. It's just, effective September, but then when it does get out, then you have the remainder of that cycle to still take
Right,
it.
but you're also talking about a 2-year commitment. Once they come out with a legislative update that takes effect September 1st, sometimes the curriculum isn't developed until October, November when it comes out, but you still have a year and 9 months to take that course. With this wording, we're only giving somebody 6 months from the effective date of this to get the course. And if the course hasn't been developed and we make a start date of November 1st and we could potentially only be giving somebody a month or 2 months. We're putting a really tight timeline on TCOL staff and subsequently the training coordinators to make the compliance with this. I
Well,
think it's tight.
And compiled on top of that, not to pile on, but if we're requiring them to do the training conference for 30 days after
Right.
also. And I didn't realize that doesn't go into effect until after the training conference, so I don't know how that puts us on that
Right.
cycle.
I guess maybe I'm not tracking here again.
So
So
if you,
if I become a new training coordinator, I have 6 months to take this course.
So, yeah, this goes into effect November 1.
Right.
And on November 2, you're appointed. You have
Right.
6 months to take that course. Well, TCO hasn't developed that course and that curriculum
Right.
yet.
and if they decided that we're going to put it on at the training conference and require people to go to the training conference to satisfy the course and then do a video on demand as a backup, we're a year out from that.
So do we need
Potentially.
and I don't know if this can be done, but can we identify a date that we think this would be ready that's actually feasible? But then moving forward after that, it's every cycle?
Or does TCO not implement the rule on November 1? Enforcement of the rule begins whatever date later, once everything is in effect.
We have done that before. So it's especially for statutes become effective. Things aren't whatever happens, things aren't ready at that point. We notify everybody, hey, we know this is an issue. This is when we're planning to actually start enforcing this statute or rule. So that's a potential option.
So you wouldn't hold anybody accountable, like they would have the 6 months.
If we don't have a course and we say you have to have.
Then you can't hold them accountable. Okay.
Do we know how long, what an approximate time to develop a course like this would be?
Unfortunately, that would be
I
Cullen's
know that we,
domain.
I know,
A lot of this material already developed in y'all's new background investigation course, because a lot of this is covered in background.
Yes.
Yes. And
211, 215, 217, we cover all of that stuff in background investigation.
yeah, and there's a TCO rules course that's
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's
That one,
already the
that's gonna
training
cover a lot of this.
coordinator.
I don't want to say it's a lot of copy and pasting, but it's,
It
the
is.
the curriculum's there. It's just putting it all together into one package.
My main thing is the timing of the conference, not maybe so much the curriculum development portion, but also in context of that and the training conference already have been passed by the time that this.
And
So that would, yeah, that would mean they would only have one conference to try and get all.
Right,
this,
right, that's right.
26
And if you can't make that conference, then, you know, you're kind of,
So could we not take the current training cycle as, hey, this is the preemptive strike that we can get it taken care of, and it goes into hard effect, the one that starts in 27?
We could,
That's what I was
we could do
thinking.
that as a policy.
yeah,
It doesn't have to impact the effective date on here. It's just, it would be a policy that we take, because we've done similar situations for continuing education specifically in the past.
so make it available and highly recommend that you go ahead and do this now, but
Yeah.
kind of like the level one alert. Like right now, everyone thinks you have to have level one, but you don't. It's recommended that you do. So kind of do something similar to that, saying that by 27.
Right.
Exactly.
that's what I like that.
That's, yeah.
That might be cleaner and
Yeah.
have less phone calls for y'all trying to figure out, hey, I'm supposed to take this course. Where is it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I mean.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think obviously, I don't know I think that'd be critical to mention at the conference this year.
Yeah, it gives you time to educate.
To mention that this is going to be coming. We highly recommend that you do this, but here's whatever the commission decides if they take our recommendation.
yeah.
Just to make sure that'd be a good platform for them to understand.
And it may be nice to have, when y'all have on your proficiency or your website that shows the continuing education cycles, you have it broken out for peace officers, jailers. It might be nice to have a header for training coordinators and to say, training coordinators, we recommend that you by this time, but that way it's very clear on that as well, just for communication purposes, so that when they're looking at compliance, they kind of spells it out for them.
And also when y'all publish information in y'all's bulletin, y'all's newsletter,
Right,
that goes out, that it's clarifying that also.
yeah,
Yeah, we can send out one of the tabs, the technical assistance bulletin.
yes.
Clarifying all this.
So,
But, you know, and a lot of times those tabs get kind of overlooked or whatever, but if it's on when people go to that cycle compliance and they're looking at things that are required, I think it would be helpful for training coordinators to be able to see their additional compliance requirements
Yes,
on that tab, yeah.
yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is we like rule 215.8 with the exception of changing an I annually to biannually
Right,
and changing the effective date to this section is September 1, 2027.
now the effective
No,
date
we
will be November 1, compliance with the training,
Got it.
we go to September 1.
yeah. We're going to leave everything the same, just enforcement wouldn't take effect until the 2026.
And that doesn't have to be in verbiage or anything about the enforcement. That's just
It'll be a information sent out.
Yeah, it'll be part of
part of the, okay.
the motion.
I mean, it doesn't have to be in here. Okay.
It doesn't have to be written into the rule.
Gotcha. So then I guess we probably need a motion on this because
Motion
then,
to approve Rule 215.8 as amended with the addition of the clarification for.
Make a second.
so we have a motion to pass this with the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, nay.
No. I'm sorry. I had a question. I was going to ask a question in a minute. Sorry.
You just threw me for a loop, dude, because I don't know what to do now.
I'm sorry. I apologize. My error.
This just put me on my heels here. All right. So any opposed? Okay, none opposed. The motion passes.
So do we need another motion on the curriculum then?
Yes. let's make
So
it.
I'll make a motion for the curriculum for the initial training course to meet these minimum standards, as well as continuing education training documented on the form, is recommended on the form as well.
With the
With the
addition of
amended up to
215.
15.
The addition, yes.
I'll make a second.
So we have a motion to adopt the curriculum for to be titled new, basic, whatever the title of the course is, as well as the continuing education requirements for current training coordinators with the addition of 215 being placed in that. Okay, we have that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Everybody looks at Jay.
I know.
The motion passes. I think that covers. One thing that I was asked, and this may be a little off agenda, but I know I talked to Miranda about it prior. I have been asked by many of my people that know that I am doing this, if we are going to discuss whether the training conference has to be mandatory for training coordinators. Is that legislatively mandated? Is there,
Contract.
it's just contract?
Contractually obligated.
So I know the training coordinator doesn't have to, them or a representative, somebody has to be there.
Mhm.
That's in rule, so either
Okay.
the training coordinator or their designee has to.
That's in
show up
rule.
to the conference.
So there, that's not even open for discussion. That's in rule.
Well, that's, yeah. I think it would be difficult to require every training coordinator to
Agreed.
show up every year. So I think how it's written right now is probably sufficient.
Maybe I told him I'd bring him up and why I brought it up. Any other conversation on
All
that?
right.
One of the reasons, and I think, I can't remember if I said in open forum, but I talked with Colin about that, was one of the people that contacted me said that by the time the conference dates get put out and they go through their red tape process, which is on them, they try to get a hotel and they're all full.
So,
And then and they say, well, they don't have the conference rate out right now, which they,
You can always cancel.
I know. I'm just being a voice for the people. So they say what they don't understand is like, they'll see a lot of people that don't have to be at the conference that are there getting hotel rooms. And they love that they're there, but could be people that have to be there, have like a pre-registration or priority registration so that they can get it and then open it up to if Houston wants to send 20, but maybe I've had more than one person say it's difficult for them to get a hotel for a required conference because it's so
That's what I
full.
do.
Do it.
We were just saying.
Oh, I already have, I said,
Hotel rooms.
mine's booked. It's fine.
that's what we do, but I understand the problem too is even when you send it out, the hotel block, even when you call like the day of or the day after, you got to be like on your email to be able to get,
Yeah.
it's one of those, like as soon as I see it, I'm like, I call my partner, hey, make your hotel room right now, because if you're not on the phone, it is hard to get. So I kind of agree. It would be nice to have some priority registration, at least for one for each department representative that is mandated to come, at least a pre-registration open for that agency or their designee to be able to ensure that they can get into that conference, if that's not a problem, especially if it's in rule to be mandated.
No, that makes sense. And,
How many is that are actually mandated? So there's how many providers? Ballpark?
300
Yeah, I was
something.
So I was
gonna
gonna
say,
say, I mean, I don't even know if there's 300 rooms. So even if we do
no, it's
priority,
usually about like 900 and something people that
Yeah.
attend. So, I mean, usually there's,
It's more than, it's usually just over 1,000 people.
yeah, it's been growing.
of which the 300 or so are required.
Are
Okay.
required, right,
So yeah, priority might be nice for those that have to be there.
right.
So actually, Dan and I here are part of the team planning for this
Oh.
upcoming conference. So this is something that we can take to them.
Okay, yeah, so,
Make them-
okay, well, with that being said, no.
Just thinking.
Add your wish list, Scott. Let's go.
Right?
So where is the conference?
McAllen.
It's in McAllen.
Can we do something to close? It
We did
kills the
that?
little
That's
guy
only
that's from up
5
very
hours.
north, if you're gonna make us go. I mean, of course, I don't have a contract yet.
So this one's in McAllen. Information about it, because the dates haven't been published yet, right?
The dates are published.
The dates are published.
Yeah.
They already did that. Okay. So that's out there.
It's end of September, yeah.
As far as where the next conference will be, I can't tell you that. But we are trying to, we're hearing concerns about locations and everything like that, and we're just taking that into consideration for the next conference.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Anything else for 4? I think we've covered everything there. We're just moving right along. 5, discuss and take action on future advisory committee meeting dates and locations, including video conferencing. Is my recommendation. I think we are about there. I think with the motions that we've had today, I think we have met the scope of at least what we need to do. And hopefully maybe we can continue to do some other things also. But as far as what our task was, I think we are prepared. I think I'm prepared. I know I was talking with Colin earlier. I'll be at the meeting in June to present to the commission. I'll speak with you afterward, or I'll sidebar on that,
Sure.
because I'm hoping you might be able to help me with a little bit of me and you could work together on a draft of what I can tell them.
Definitely.
Okay.
And so in the past, how it's worked is we ask that the presiding officer and the assistant presiding officer, which Captain Hernandez, attend the meeting to give a presentation.
Okay.
And we can help you with that. And everyone is welcome to attend. And if you want, you can make comments as well at the commission meeting. And
So I'll have the peanut gallery.
We'll get you.
the commission meeting is June 12th,
12.
and it's in Austin.
Yes. The workshop is on the 11th.
I don't think there's a, is there a
It-
workshop?
I'm not sure that there will
There's
be a
not.
workshop.
I don't think there's a workshop. I think they decided not to do that because of legislative session. So I think this time it'll just be the meeting only.
Okay, yeah, I do have the, I have the 12th.
Currently,
Is that right?
only the meeting is scheduled.
Okay. And I put on my calendar for the second one too, just in case there's any questions. I guess it'd be nice if I'm there for that one
The one in September?
in Amarillo.
Yes.
Okay.
You can definitely come, of
Okay.
course, and make comments as well.
I just didn't, I went to the last one just in case there was any questions. So I don't mind going, but I just didn't know if I was being there too much.
No,
Oh, okay,
you're
yeah.
definitely welcome.
Yeah, okay, all right.
These are public meetings, so everyone
Yeah.
can come.
Okay.
But I think as far as how it's worked, attendance, we really want you to be at that first one.
Sure.
The second one is really up to you.
Okay, I'll definitely probably be at both.
That's great.
Any other questions on meetings? Does anybody disagree? Like, I think we've pretty much hit the task that we need to do, right?
Yeah.
With that, I don't know if there's any public comment. Any public comment? Well, that was short and sweet, but I think what we would need to do now is, unless anybody has anything else, a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries and we are adjourned.
Right.